In this video, we are going to create a route table, add few user-defined routes, and associate a route table with subnet. Whatever we discussed in the previous demos was all about system-defined route table. That means the route table which we didn't create at all. But when we want to control the traffic, right, we can create our own route table and override the system routes. How do we do that? By creating a route table. So how do we create a route table? Just search for this called route table. Click on the route table. Create route table. Let's pick up the resource group and this in the Australia is name this route table as RT. And we can call this one for, let's say, subnet 1. We can use propagate gateway routes, that's fine, but in this case we don't have the gateway, so we'll say no. We don't need to tag this one, just say review and create. Click create. Deployment is in progress. Deployment is done. Go to the resource. Now this is the route table. Now here there is a section called routes. That is what you see. Now this is user defined routes. The one that we created is a route table, and user defined routes are defined within route, and then the route table is associated with the subnet. So what is a route? This one UDR, to internet, and select a destination. We say almost like everything from this particular like a subnet sent to the internet. That's what we're saying. Okay, that is how we define the user defined route. Suppose you want to add a route to a specific like a destination. How do you do that? You might say that yes, route to VNet 2, something like that. Yeah. IP address, destination IP address could be let's say something like this, right? And then you might say that the destination will be reachable via this virtual appliance, and you might have some kind of virtual appliance IP here. We are going to create that in the next section. How to define this one. This is just an example to you. This is how you define the user defined route, which is part of this particular subnet. Now there are like two routes that we added into this route table. We can associate this route to the subnet. That means we are overwriting the system defined route table in this particular case. So let's say in this case like a spoke one, that, and this is the subnet where we deployed the machine. And now essentially what we're saying in this particular case, now any traffic originating from subnet 1, right, will make use of this particular route. That is how the traffic will basically now traverse. That means you controlling the flow of traffic now, rather than whatever was given by this default system route, right? And that is how you basically write the route. Now in a complex network you many routes like this, and this is called like a static definition of the route. That means you need to know where you're sending the traffic, right? So in the Azure world, this create a lot of overhead actually, because all these routes definition has to maintain. And that is a problem, and this is the problem actually solved by the BGP protocol, right? So when you do the routing within the Azure, and when BGP is not supported, This is how you maintain the user defined routes within the Azure network. And this is called like a static routes, right? Which usually network engineers do not like, you know. But this is the way that you would be doing, defining the routes and ensure that particular route table is associated with the subnet. Now you can also associate the same route table with multiple subnet. That is also a possibility. But usual practice and the best practice, I would say, is good to have a route table per subnet, so that when you update the route table, it's not impacting almost all the workload, right? So as per the best practice, I suggest to have a separate route table for each subnet, and all these things better to have like a codified, means in the form of IAC. Okay. That is how usually you should do, rather than doing this through the portal itself, because you got a complex environment, maintaining these things becomes a lot more challenging. Okay, that's all pretty much in this particular video. We created a route table, we added couple of user defined route, and then we associated route table with the subnet. That's all.